We're taking a break from all the presidential talk to preview some hot governor's races in 2008, right after this.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us. You can learn more about America's natural resources at nma.org, the National Mining Association.
From the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now here are Hotline editors Chuck Todd and John Mercurio.
It's Hotline TV. I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Reid Wilson.
We begin our governor's race roundup today in the nation's bellwether, which recently elected a Democratic senator but remains a pretty good state for the GOP. So Reid Wilson, how does Missouri, the state of Missouri, the show-me state, if you will, look for Republican Governor Matt Blunt?
Well, you know, the kid's 33 years old.
Indeed.
Call him a kid. He's younger than you. I'm not going to comment.
But only by a year or 4.
or whatever. We'll say you're under 40.
Just back to him.
Back
Back to Blunt.
to
Enough
him,
about me.
Of course. Missouri is looking like a tough state for Matt Blunt. His approval ratings are in the tank. He's actually, there's talk that he might not run.
He's
one-term governor, real young, might not run again.
Right. And despite the fact that on a federal level, Missouri has been pretty good for the Republicans, Blunt is the first Republican governor, I think, in this state in about 12 years.
Quite a while.
So they still like to elect, or at least they did until recently, do like their Democratic governors.
Sure, they had Mel Carnahan in there for a couple of terms.
Sure.
Had Bob Holden in for one term before he got beaten in the primary by Claire McCaskill, who came close to beating Matt Blunt 4 years ago. This year they have a decent candidate, the Democrats have a decent candidate in Attorney General Jay Nixon. He's looking like the front runner at the moment, although of course...
I'm skeptical. I've been covering Jay Nixon. I've been covering Missouri since you were a little boy. And Jay Nixon, the Attorney General, has run statewide several times, other than obviously he's won the Attorney General's office. He's run statewide several times and continues to lose. He becomes sort of one of those perennial losers. So, you know, this could be the time for him, but I'm still a little skeptical that he's going to be able to pull it together, especially against an incumbent governor.
Sure. It seems like attorneys general, though, have a better shot at the governorship than pretty much any other statewide office. He's in a prominent spot now. What is it about him that makes you say that? Just he's run all the time? Or?
He's never been able to put together a good campaign staff. He also has a big problem with some of the state's black leaders, some of the African-American politicians. Kansas City and St. Louis, of course, two cities that are heavily dominated by African-American, not heavily dominated, but dominated by African-American Democrats. Emanuel Cleaver, the congressman from Kansas City, not a big fan of Jay Nixon's, and I don't think Lacey Clay is either. So I think if he ends up running as he did when he ran against Kit Bond, he might have a tough time.
One other Democratic possibility there is Secretary of State Robin Carnahan, daughter of
former Governor
Mel Carnahan. How's her reputation in the state?
It's pretty good. I don't know much about her, frankly, but I know she's got one of the best names probably in Democratic politics in Missouri. And Missouri has been a state in the past that sort of respects, sort of political dynasties as the other dynasties have worked. I would say that that if she's already been elected to statewide office, probably off of the good name recognition of her mother and father and brother, I would assume that she would have she would be a pretty viable candidate. All right, next on our list of hot governor's races, two possible bright spots for the Republican Party. North Carolina Democrat Mike Easley is being forced out by term limits. And Reid, your home state of Washington State could flip as well, thanks to a race that makes Florida look like a model for perfect elections back in 2004.
That's right. That was the year of the endless recount when Christine Gregoire ended up beating State Senator Dino Rossi by something around 130 votes. Out of a couple million cast.
Sure.
You know, it was an ugly race.
100 million cast?
No, a couple million.
Thank you.
Cast. No, she won by about 130 votes total.
Sure.
It recounts all over the place. And
what's your problem with Christine Gregoire, though?
Nothing. She was the state's attorney general, as I mentioned. Attorney generals seem to have a good shot at governor's races. She was the Democratic frontrunner from the start. Had what people thought would be a strong challenge in the primary and just blew the guy out of the water. But now that she's in the governor's office, her numbers are not great. They seems that Washington state governors never. I was
just going to say, didn't Gary Locke?
Gary Locke
sort of unpopular
numbers. Mike
that he
Lowry
kept winning
had bad numbers.
But look, I think statewide, I feel like none of their politicians they don't love their politicians, but they always reelect them. Patty Murray, not loved, but always reelected. Maria Cantwell, never loved, but reelected in a very good Democratic year. by a wide margin.
The difference is that people who run against Patty Murray have tended to be from the right wing of the Republican Party in Washington State. I'm sure the right wing of the Republican Party in Washington State is a moderate Republican in Mississippi. But,
right, except for Ellen Cranwell or whatever.
Craswell, yeah. Well, even her, she wasn't as crazy right as some other folks.
All right.
Bottom line is, though, in Dino Rossi, they found a guy who was moderate, who was smart. He was the chair of the budget committee. He could talk about budget stuff, and we care about that stuff out in Washington State.
And he's committed to running?
He's always said he will. He's making moves like he will. Every Republican I've talked to in the state assumes that he will. The sort of second name on the list is Attorney General Rob McKenna, the only statewide office the Republicans picked up.
And as I'm hearing today, a good, powerful perch from which to run for governor.
From which to run,
sure.
apparently. Yeah. But no, the odds are that it'll be Rossi in a rematch. And polls the only polls I've ever seen showing a rematch have Rossi up. Significantly. So whatever the governor does, and she's had a good couple of sessions, she's raised a lot of money, whatever she does, she's going to have a tough race.
All right.
Moving on to North Carolina.
Moving on to North Carolina, yeah.
As we said, Governor Easley out by term limits.
Sure.
You don't think that Lieutenant Governor Beverly Perdue is the front runner in the Democratic primary?
I think she might be the front runner in the Democratic primary. I don't know who else Democrats are talking about running. I think Sue Myrick, if she does run on the Republican side, is probably a pretty strong candidate. Look, North Carolina is a state that has obviously, should be in the Republican column. They've been re-electing Democratic governors for a long time. That puts them in makes them sort of an aberration as one of the deep South states. It's the furthest north deep South state, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sue Myrick does run, that she does pretty well. Still pretty early though.
It is indeed. Why did Easley never get on a national ticket?
It's a good question. He's a little bit older, I think, than a national ticket. But he's been mentioned on short lists. He was on Gore's short list in 2000.
All right, a few governors up next year seem to defy conventional wisdom. Brian Schweitzer, a Montana Democrat, and Jim Douglas, a Vermont Republican, are looking fairly safe in states that routinely vote the other way in presidential elections. John, how are they pulling that off?
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing that across the West right now. You're seeing Democrats taking credit or being excited about the sort of expansion of their party. But it's as we've seen on a state-by-state level, but even on a national level, those are very, very different Democrats. And I think you are unlikely to see the sort of model that the Brian Schweitzers and the
Dave Freudenthal's and the
Janet Napolitanos, even the Bill Ritters in Colorado and the Kathleen Sebelius in Kansas. The real test is going to be if one of those Democratic governors ends up trying to run for national office or even run for the Senate, and see how they're able to sort of package and take the model that they've created for their party and bring it into the national party. Sure. I think the big challenge is for them to be able to make that leap. As long as they stay on the statewide level, I think a lot of people, traditional Republican voters, even some independents, sort of like them on a personal level. But once that you start being able to connect them to Ted Kennedy, Hillary Clinton, Harry Reid, it becomes a real challenge.
Now, National Democrats, though, are sort of embracing that Western Democrat. They have a convention coming up in Denver. They've got, they had Schweitzer on the rebutting the president's weekly radio address last week, and they can't stop talking about these guys. They can't stop talking about the Ken Salazars and the
sure, because it's
Western
an area. It's an area. I mean, that you see, there's a sort of a fallacy here. I mean, it's an area where I think Democrats obviously want to expand. They see a lot of population growth out in this part of the country, and they really think this is an area where they can pick up House and Senate seats around the country and governor's offices. The challenge for any Democrat who wants to win in those areas, I think, though, is to sort of separate themselves from the national party and do so in a way that says that, I'm a local Democrat, I care more about local issues. The only person, I think, that's been able to sort of make that leap that I was just talking about is probably Ben Nelson. Going from being a governor of a state, I guess a plains state or a western state, into the Senate, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
And even he got his rear end handed to him by Chuck Hagel the first time he ran for the Senate.
Indeed he did.
Jim Douglas, quickly, in Vermont?
Jim Douglas is an anomaly in a part of the country where where Republicans are just being knocked out right and left. Douglas stands up as a real popular guy. I think the problem for Democrats in 2004 2006 in Vermont was that they were so focused on the Senate race, Bernie Sanders, of course, and they were so focused on trying to make sure that Bernie Sanders didn't have a tough race that they weren't focused on Douglas.
Yeah.
And I think what you might see, given the success in 2006, of Democrats up in the Northeast is maybe a potential challenge to Douglas. But they like their Republicans in Vermont, that's for sure.
There you go.
All right, finally, Reid, the race you've been talking about for months. Trust me, people, you can't shut up. Democrats may have a shot to pick up Indiana. Why are you so fascinated by the Hoosier race?
This is kind of like Montana, a state that traditionally votes Republican in the presidential race. The two senators sort of seem to transcend party politics. Yeah, Dick Lugar, nobody even ran against him. No Democrat ran against him this year.
But he still ran TV ads.
He did. And Evan Bayh is he won by 30 points last time. Won by 30 points, by the way, in a presidential election year when George Bush was carrying the state by 25 or 30 points. 4 years ago, Mitch Daniels got elected governor. Sorry, 3 years ago, I guess. Got elected governor out of George Bush's OMB. Came out there, and this is this strange state that's so Republican, and yet they have a Democratic majority in the state house. They have a Democratic congressional majority, congressional delegation majority after picking up 3 seats.
Sure.
And honest to God, it's a state that cares more about time zones and toll roads than it does about any hot button issue that the rest of the country does.
Okay, Reid, I have to ask my big question. Who's your candidate?
I got to tell you, Indianapolis
Hoosier
mayor
candidate?
Oh, I just got it.
Yeah, Hoosier.
I'm real smart, guys. This is probably why I'm leaving. Anyway, Indianapolis Mayor Bart Peterson has been recruiting these candidates to fight surrogate races against the folks that Mitch Daniels has been recruiting. Sure. And yeah, they've each won a couple, they've each lost a couple, but Bart Peterson is sort of the one major city mayor who seems to be able to run on a statewide platform.
And you're using that term loosely, major city.
I am. It's
no offense, Indianapolis.
Now we're going to get hate mail from Indianapolis. Great, thanks, John. No, but we'll see. No other big city mayors are going to run for big stuff. My hometown, Seattle, nobody ever runs for anything after becoming mayor of Seattle. New York, when was the last time you saw a mayor of New York do anything aside from Ed?
When was the last time you saw like a Baltimore mayor run for governor?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. And we'll see. We'll see if Antonio Villaraigosa has a shot.
In 2010?
In 2010.
That is a very, very good point. Sorry, I just had to prove you wrong. As soon as you stated that very interesting fact, I had to find the one example of where you were wrong.
There's the 2-minute warning. Let's wrap this up. I have some desk packing to do. John, new Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann couldn't seem to let go of President Bush, holding on to him for some 40 seconds after his State of the Union. Have we found our new Katherine Harris?
It depends. How does she look on horseback? But speaking of Katherine Harris, the former Congresswoman was seen at the State of the Union passing out business cards. So what exactly is on those cards, Reid Wilson? I know you got a couple, didn't you?
I did. But for the sake of her party, I really hope it's not an offer to be a campaign consultant.
Indeed.
Add John McCain to the list of people who can't keep food off themselves. The Washington Times reports that McCain, along with Jim Webb and Nancy Pelosi, spilled food on himself before the speech, forcing him to borrow a tie from a staffer. John, you'd never show up on Hotline TV with food spilled on yourself, would you?
I would not, but much like Nancy Pelosi, I might wear some fake eyelashes on occasion. Finally, new Senator Jon Tester is taking openness in government to a new level. He's posted his entire schedule online, including trips to the gym, dinners with his wife, and meetings with Anheuser-Busch lobbyists. You think it's smart to advertise a lobbyist meeting, Reid?
Look,
especially
John, being from close to Montana, I'll tell you, anybody from Montana who doesn't like beer isn't a real Montana. There's the buzzer, and that does it for another episode of Hotline TV. Join John and Chuck on Monday and every day, same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for joining us, and we'd like to say, before we leave, goodbye to our producer, Reid, who is heading off to greener and much more prosperous pastures, and we've appreciated him. Before I start getting a little weepy, I'll just thank him for his work and wish him the best of luck.
It's been my pleasure.
I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Reid Wilson. See you next time on Hotline TV.